All right, guys, this week we wanted to give you a Valentine's Day episode.
We did. Happy Valentine's Day,
Yeah.
everybody. Or Valentine's Day week.
Yeah.
I love Valentine's Day.
Do you?
I really do. It is like, I don't know, it's fun. I have really good memories from Valentine's Day growing up, and I think like it's just a fun holiday. I know that there's a lot of beef out there with people not loving Valentine's Day because they think that love should be reciprocated like all year, like or shown, really, like that love should be given all year round, not just saved for one specific holiday. And I do agree with that, but there's a big part of me that I love that we have a dedicated day to express or show or do things for people that we love.
That makes
I
sense.
don't know. I like it. It's fun. It makes it special. I like it as a mom. I like it as being married.
What was it about when you were younger that you liked about Valentine's Day? Did your mom and dad do special things for you or?
You would think knowing Jennifer, she would like extra, extra. She was not.
Yeah.
Sorry, hold on. Oh, sorry, I was gonna have like a coughing attack. No, we always got like a little box of chocolates, and that was kind of it. My dad growing up used to always get us like me and my sister, who is 8 years younger than I am. But he would always order flowers to the school. So it was like a big deal. Like I knew that on Valentine's Day,
Yeah.
I was going to get flowers delivered to the school, and I felt so special.
That's amazing.
I remember one year I was like supposed to get them, and then the school was being weird and wouldn't let them be delivered. And so I didn't get them during the day, and I was like distraught. And I was like, oh my gosh, my dad forgot about me. He doesn't love me. And really, they were just at home because they couldn't be delivered to the school. So
Yeah.
that, and then as I got older, he would always do like flowers and then like a small gift. So like
That's
most of the
really
time it
cool.
was perfume, which I love. I don't know. It just always made me feel really special. I wasn't always the person that had like an actual like Valentine, like a boy.
Yeah.
And so my dad always kind of stepped in and filled that for me and just always made it really special there. And same with my mom with like her little box. She's still to this day, as a 31-year-old, gets me a box of chocolates for Valentine's Day, and it's so cute. And she's so sweet about it and writes a cute little note with it. So I don't know. I love it. I think it's just fun to feel loved and appreciated, even if it is just for 14 days or one day or whatever that looks like.
Yeah, definitely. It's always been my second favorite holiday.
I did not
Fourth
know
of,
that about you.
4th of July was my first, or is my first. Valentine's is my second.
Are you lying right now?
No, I'm not lying, especially since we got married. Maybe before it wasn't that, but especially since we got married.
Okay, cool.
It's been the best for me because you get to do that. I agree with you. It's just one day where you can separate just your relationship from the rest of the world. I remember we've had since we got married, we've had very, very like intimate and special Valentine's days.
We have. I think the
Um,
first Valentine's we ever had, being married, not dating,
mhm.
was kind of a disaster. And so after that, we were like, we're not doing this anymore. It's gonna be, we're just like gonna be more intimate.
Yeah. And I've always wanted to show affection towards you, especially on that day. And now having kids, it's nice because it's like, hey, this is our day, not
Yeah.
anybody else's. And we'll get them gifts and things like that, but we want to focus on our relationship the most. So, but on that topic, we wanted to talk about something that we actually learned in a coaching session. And that's what is love.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we want to talk about the topic of love and like what it actually is and how to give and receive it. And that's really scary for a lot of couples. It's really scary for me and for you because as you talk about love, there's really like, if you asked everybody in the whole entire world what love was, I think they'd give a different definition.
Oh yeah.
Right.
No, they for sure would.
Because it's so personal. And it's honestly, when it comes down to it, it's if you've ever felt something like that, like you can logically from your head give an answer, but somebody asks you what love was, if you haven't felt it, you wouldn't really know.
Yeah, it was funny. I was talking to our oldest a couple days ago. I was like teasing him, like asking him if he had a girlfriend or if he liked anybody.
Yeah.
And he was really funny because he was like, no, mom, He's always been really sweet, and he's always had this one girl that he would give Valentines for, like, since he was little. Like, he just, like,
Oh, I
it was
remember.
just
Yep.
kind of a
Mhm.
thing that he always wanted to do. He always wanted to go get Gwenny a Valentine's. And, like, last year was probably the first year he was like, I don't want to do that anymore. And I was like, okay, that's totally fine. No big deal. And so we were kind of like joking around while we were making Valentine's for his class. And I was like, do you have anybody that you want to be your Valentine? Like, we're kind of talking about it. And he was like, no. And I was like, well, do you think anyone's cute in your class? Like, I was just trying to get as much info out of him. And he was just like, no, no. And then out of nowhere, he was like, well, Mom, I have a question. He's like, how do you know if you like someone? And I was like, that's a really good question. How do you know if you like somebody? Like, how do you know if you love somebody? What is love, kind of a thing? Do you know what I mean? And so that, to me, it really took me a second to answer. Like, I don't know if I've ever, and I can't remember how I answered, or I would tell you right now, but I think what I said to him was, well, I love your dad. And like, for me, love is like, how I know that I like him, or how I know that I love him, is the feeling that I have when I'm around him. Like, there's nobody else that I would rather spend time with, and there's nobody else I'd rather talk to. And, like, I think he, like, when I look at him, like, my tummy gets all like butterflies in my tummy, kind of a thing, because I'm trying to explain it to an 8-year-old. Do you know what I mean? And then I just, I'm like, and that's kind of what I described love as, or how do you know if you like somebody? Like, there's a feeling behind it. And they make you feel good, and they make you happy, and they, all of these things. And he was just kind of like, oh, okay. And I'm like, okay, well, now knowing that, is there anyone that you like? And he was just like, no. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
You're too cool for this conversation. But
That's actually pretty cool. I wonder what his answer really would be. Like, if he does have a girl that he thinks is cute, next time he does that, I'm gonna ask him, like, how do you actually feel towards her? Like, what makes you think that she's cute, right?
It just was an interesting thing. I don't think anyone's ever asked me, like, how do you know that you love someone? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, in a romantic way. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, oh.
So I have my definition of love, but I kind of want to go through our story really quick.
Yeah.
Before I give it, because, like, for all intents and purposes, I genuinely, like, was very much in love with you when we decided to get married, and when we did get married.
I'm like, are you sure about that?
Well, that's the whole story, right? But we got married very young, and I'm wondering what your feelings, or what your definition would have been about what love was when we first got married.
Love for me was like what I saw in the movies.
Okay.
It was like sweep you off your feet. Like Prince Charming, I'm going to save you. You're a safe space. All of those kind of things. That was love for me. Or like.
Did I do that for you?
To a certain degree, yeah.
Okay.
Like, not necessarily. Like, I feel like I'm a very, like, independent, strong woman. Like, I'm kind of a feminist in that standpoint, where I'm like,
yeah,
I don't need a man, all of that. But there were things, I'm trying so hard not to answer with, like, how I believe now. I'm trying to go back to, like, who I was.
Yeah.
I wanted to be in love, and I wanted love so bad growing up, truthfully. Okay. And so that was, like, for me, it was looking for somebody that just, I want to say, like, loved me, but, like, I don't really feel like you were that affectionate towards me, or that, like, you didn't like kiss the ground I walked on. So it's funny that would be what I thought love was. Mm-hmm. I'm probably not making any sense, because I'm really going back into my memory of who I was as a 17-year-old.
Well, I mean, if you go back to, even when we started dating, the physical attraction was probably first, right?
I mean,
and I think that's the case with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Where we're physically attracted to our boyfriend or girlfriend or our spouse first. And then the other layers of intimacy come in, where it's emotional, like intellectual, and all those things. But at first, like, I was very physically attracted to you.
Oh, for sure.
And, I mean, like, that was, like, we were teenagers, and we were horny, and, like, we wanted to do stuff. And then after that, I was like, oh, this girl is like, she's gorgeous, but she's also like hilarious. I have the best time with her. I have so much fun with her. Like there was never times that I wanted to be with anybody else other than you throughout our dating life before we got married. Right. And so for me as like a teenager and like newlywed, those were signs of love for me, where I genuinely want to spend my time with you.
Yeah.
And like the feeling that I get when I'm with you is I feel whole. I feel at peace. I feel like all of those things. Right. And it's crazy how the world kind of breaks down love, because we see so many people getting divorced, and we see so many people that say that they're in love and then something happens and then that's not the case anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's interesting that you talked about the physical connection.
Okay.
Originally.
Yeah.
Because I remember a point in our relationship earlier on, obviously before we were married, where I was finding that a lot of the relationships that I was in previously obviously started just based off of the physical attraction to that person, right? Other than you, I had like one very serious relationship before that. And I look back and I'm like, he was such an asshole, truthfully, like in the most loving way. He's such an asshole. But I thought he was the hottest thing to walk the face of the earth. Like I was so attracted to him. And looking back, I like just laugh because I'm like, oh, like, I mean, sure, he was handsome and he was great, but like, was that like, seriously, I was so shallow. But same goes for you. Like that was the first thing I was like, yeah, Matt Greiner, he's hot. Like I'm going to go out with him, kind of a thing. And our relationship for so long was so sexual.
Yeah.
In a standpoint, it was like every time we were together, we were doing, and obviously that's the case because you're in a relationship. But I remember there being a point in our relationship where I was like, is there anything more than just this like sexual attraction? Like, is there anything deeper? Like, is our relationship just really almost like surface level? Almost like, yeah, he's my best friend and like I love spending time with him and we talk, but like, is there more? And I remember there being like, if you know our story, there was a time where we weren't together we did long distance. And during that time, that's when I realized like, okay, wait, like we actually have these like incredible conversations and we truly like can communicate on such a great level with one another. There is a whole nother layer of friendship there. It's not just sexual. There's friendship, there's companionship, there's all of that. Like take sex and throw it out the window. I still want to be in a relationship with you.
Yeah. And I think at that point in our lives, and for most people, we aren't able to understand the emotional side of love.
Yeah.
Like we just see like what you said, the physical side of it. And the appearance of it. And it's interesting that you say that you wanted this like fairy tale Disney Channel type of love, because I feel like you had that with your first boyfriend, like your really serious boyfriend.
No.
Well, I guess that's what you were looking for, because he was like the stereotypical, like,
he was like a senior.
Yeah, the senior, the basketball player, like all that.
Sophomore, and it was like he was like the hot guy, and like I was brave and put my number on his car, and we like hung out and like dated forever. Do you know what I mean? It's like, but what nobody knows behind the scenes is I was like getting pressured into doing stuff that I didn't want to do, and I was young and I was getting taken advantage of. So it's like, and I should have been smarter, but I was so infatuated with this idea of like also having a relationship very similar to my parents. I wanted that. I wanted like their story to be my story.
Oh, like first boyfriend, like very...
Well, my parents met and...
really young and just...
My parents' story is literally like magical in my opinion. Like in the way that my mom describes it is like incredible. And I grew up hearing just like how amazing the meeting was. And my parents met really young. Like my parents met when my dad was 17 and my mom was 15.
Like the love at first sight type of thing.
It was just like, he picked her up and swept her off her feet and spun her around. And from that moment on, they were like inseparable. And it's like, they've had their ups and downs. But like my parents' relationship is incredible in my opinion. So it's like every relationship has work, but like theirs as a young girl, I was like, I want that. Like I want that relationship. I want to be in love, young love.
Yeah, so that now I understand where parents are coming from when like a 17-year-old will come to them and say like, I'm in love with this boy. And they're like, you don't know anything yet.
See, and my parents never said that. My parents were always just like, yeah, you could be. Like, you never know. You could 100% find the love of your life in junior high or high school or elementary school. Like, you could.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not going to tell you that you can't love somebody to that like capacity at such a young age, because we've been there. We know.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I would say to our kids.
Yeah. So if we go back to our story as well, like it's going to sound really weird.
It is. So bear with us.
But when we got married, I thought I was in love, genuinely.
I would say same.
Like, I thought I was in love. I thought I loved you. But I had no idea what love actually was. And I think that's kind of what we're building the foundation for right now.
Mm-hmm.
Is what is love actually? Is it just a feeling? Is it just attraction? For me, that's what I thought it was. And so we went a really long time. And my past is a lot of people pleasing. And I didn't really know how to give myself love in a lot of ways. And so what I would do is I would just outsource it to other people, and I would serve.
Mm-hmm.
And I would give and I would give and I would give. And I would come back at the end of the day and I would be like, well, I don't really like myself. And so I was learning throughout, the 8 years before I actually figured out what love was, how to love myself. Or what I realized was that I couldn't love myself. And so I had no idea what love was. And so if we fast forward to it, my definition of love is to accept somebody for who they are and to set them free just as they are. That's my definition. And that definition comes with a lot of practice. Because to look at somebody and say, I understand who you are and I still love you. I understand who you are and I accept you for who you are. And for everything that you've done and for everything that you will do. But in this state, you are perfect to me. To me, that is love. And then the other part of it is, I am going to let you be you 100% of the time, regardless of what goes on in between me and you. And I'm going to set you free. And I know that as I do that, you'll come back to me. That's love, in my opinion. And so for 8 years of our marriage, it didn't feel like that until I finally had to look at myself and be like, listen, I don't think I love myself. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely don't think that I've ever felt or acknowledged what love actually is inside of me to be able to love you. And so my point is that we went so long, and I finally came to you with all my problems, with all my baggage, not knowing how you were going to react. And then when I did, your reaction proved to me unknowingly, right? Mm-hmm. That you loved me. And you showed me what love was in the moments when I came to you with everything, with all the baggage. And you said, hey, I still accept you and I love you. And that's not on me. Right? And what that did for me was gave me permission to do the same for me. I got to stop judging myself. I got to accept myself. And I got to set myself free from all of these things that was holding me back from actually loving myself. And so I think that our story is so uncommon to other people because I don't think that I actually loved you until year 8 of our marriage. And we've had this conversation.
We have, yeah.
And that was a really hard thing for me to say because that's not supposed to be the case.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're supposed to get married to somebody that you love. You're supposed to date somebody that you love. But I genuinely learned how to love in the whole process of this thing called marriage. Anyway, I'm done.
I love that. No, I love that.
So that's my definition of love. It's acceptance and freedom.
I feel like we gave a really half-ass description of what we really went through.
Oh, okay.
So like, well, I feel like we should kind of dive in a tiny bit to give everybody like a little nugget of what it really looked like, what our relationship really looked like.
Okay.
You want to?
Yeah.
Okay. So Matt and I met in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I texted him, asked him on a date. He was dating one of my friends, and I was dating one of his friends, and both relationships went separate ways.
Mm-hmm.
And in the meantime, I did my own thing. I dated somebody in between like that relationship with your friend and you. I had like a boyfriend that was pretty serious. Well, kind of serious. He was fun. And he actually taught me a lot. And I will give him mad props for, I think that was the first time I actually felt loved and accepted in a relationship where like I saw how I should be treated or how a relationship should look. Okay. Which I'm really grateful for because it completely set the standard for me when I met you.
Yeah.
And I always wonder that if I wouldn't have dated that guy in between, would our relationship have looked different? Because I truthfully, like, he healed a lot of, like, unintentionally just healed a lot of wounds that I had from past relationships just by being himself and teaching me and showing me those things. And I'm grateful for that, like big time grateful for that. So you and I asked you on a date over Christmas break of 2009. And we went ice skating for the first time and then went and got donuts after and went and watched Christmas lights, like random house Christmas lights.
Yeah.
Which is something we still do now that we're married, which is so funny to me that was what we did on our very first date. Mm-hmm. And from that night on, I really, to you, like, I didn't want to not be around you. I don't know what it was. Like, there was something about you that was so welcoming. Like, it was like home.
Cute.
And so that next day, I was supposed to go. I sound like I was like just this dating extravaganza. I really wasn't. I had a friend that I was just going on a date with, and you and I were texting like nonstop. And I was on this date with this other guy.
Yeah.
And you were like, "What are you doing later? Like, we should hang out again." And I'm like, "I can't. I'm supposed to go on this date. Like, I'm like, this whole date is a whole freaking long date." And you were like, "No, Lauren, I really want to hang out with you." Like, actually, I don't think you were that blunt, but you were like, "Come on, let's go do what you were going to do with him instead. Like, do it with me instead." Mm-hmm. And I was like, "That's all you need to say. Done." Like, whatever. Like, I would have, I mean, I did drive across a couple states to come see you eventually in our relationship, but I was like, okay. So I bailed on the other day. I told him I was sick, and you and I went and saw Christmas lights again. And I remember the first time you held my hand, I was like, oh my gosh, my soul just left my body. Who is this guy? Again, like, I'm just as hopeless romantic of like, oh my gosh, I love him. Like, I don't think I knew I loved you then, but I was like, he's just special. Like, there's just something about him. And so we had our first kiss and it was great. And then going forward, like, I don't think we went even like 2 days without talking. Like, we were always together. Always together. We were always talking. We were always communicating. We went to different high schools. So if you're like, well, yeah, you guys went to the same school. We didn't. We went to different high schools, but they're not that far apart from each other. And so there would be days where like I would come see you for lunch, or you would come see me for lunch, or we knew like you had a baseball game after school and I would like come see you, or if I had play practice and I was done, like you come and
just high
pick
school
me up. It was just like,
it
was just like fun high school romantic thing. Like, we went to prom together and like all of those things. And it was just like,
you did get your Disney movie.
I did a little bit. Yeah.
There you go.
Kind of. Except for you broke up with me a couple times in between that. We won't bring that up. But
why not? It's important.
Okay, true. So we did have moments. There were a lot of moments on your end where like I was like in the relationship. Like, I was like, no, like I really like him. Like, I always tease you, like I would have married you the day after graduation had you asked me. Like, there wasn't a doubt in my mind. I don't know what it was. It was just unwavering. Like, and I can't even, like, it's funny that you asked me like what love was at the beginning of a relationship, because I don't really know if I had words for it other than just like, my gut is never wrong in my life. And I like gut feeling just knew you were the one. I did. I just knew. I call it whatever you want. But like, I just knew. I was like, this is who I want to be with. And so
Wow.
you were a little bit more unsure, which is okay. And like, we talked pretty openly about all of this throughout our relationship. And I think you were kind of like, you're crazy. Like, how do you know? How can you know? How do you know if this is really what you want? All of those things. And so, and please interrupt at any given time and
No,
go
for
put
it.
your side to this story, because everyone's just getting mine right now. But really, it was like we graduated and then you freaking left again.
Yep.
And I think you tried to break up with me 2 times throughout our relationship, like in high school. And you like, and I was just like, and you tried to blame it on your mom and dad, which I think one of them really was your mom and dad, which we love them for that. And you were like, we just need to be friends. And I was like, yeah, I'm not interested in doing that. Like, I was pretty bold of like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. And you were like, okay, well, we can be together. We can't tell anyone. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that either. So it's just funny looking back on those moments. Like, I think we probably lasted like a couple hours. Then you were like, okay, I changed my mind. I want to be in a relationship. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So those 2 instances happened or whatever. And then we graduate and you leave and you go play baseball with a traveling team in freaking Alaska. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, like, here's a test, right? Let's see if we can do long distance. You didn't break up with me then.
Yeah.
Surprisingly. And I was all in. Like, I was like, great, awesome. Go play baseball. Like, I'm here and I'll be here. I'm going to work. Like, I'll work. I have friends I'll hang out with. Like, I have you though, and you're here and there, and this is going to be great. And so you play baseball for the summer and you come home for a little bit. You surprised me a couple of times throughout that. I don't know if you remember that.
No, I do. But then I signed with a college and I wouldn't play baseball again.
Yeah. And I remember the day you got.
It was in Arizona and we live in Utah. And so I broke up with you again because I didn't think that was going to work out.
I remember the day. This is important.
Okay.
This is always funny when we talk about this. So Matt gets home from this traveling. In the meantime, I did a pageant. And so I was Miss American Fork.
Yeah.
So I was doing pageant stuff and I was going to school at UVU, Utah Valley University. And I was working and I was just like being an adult, like air quotes, right? Like, I was like, I love him. Like, we're going to get married at some point in time. So I just am going to live my life and like support him, and this is going to be great. And it's not affecting me at all. So like, let's go. But I love him so much. And, we had talked, I think, about marriage kind of in those months. Like, we had kind of like dabbled in it, like, you know, would like
but we were 18 and I was like, no,
I was still 17
at
that
all.
point in time. And it was kind of like, oh, I was dead ass serious.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, we would talk about it and I was like, like, I used to tell you all the time, like, when we would sit on the deck at your parents' house and like watch the stars, I would see shooting stars all the time. And like, my wish was genuinely like, I want to marry him. Like, which is so cheesy. And actually I didn't tell you that until after we got married. And I'm like, don't make fun of me, but this was my wish. And I don't see shooting stars unless I'm with you. It's really weird. So that's a side point. So I remember the day, and we were upstairs in my bedroom. I don't know how my parents were okay with that because they were pretty strict with me. But we were upstairs in my bedroom and I was getting ready we had gone and done something. And so I was like showering super fast and you were just like hanging out at the desk in my bedroom.
Yeah.
And I got out of the shower and I like was dressed, but my hair was all wet or like up in a towel. And I came out and you were like, I just got an offer to play baseball at Scottsdale Community College. And I was like,
go Chokes.
And I was like, well, that's like what you wanted. Are you going to do it?
Yeah.
And you were like, yeah, I think I am. And my heart just like sunk. And I was like, maybe he'll ask me to go with him. Like, maybe. Like, because if it were me, I would ask him to go with me. And I'm like, maybe he's going to ask me to go with him.
Not even a thought in my mind.
I know. And you were like, yeah, I'm going to go. And like, we were just quiet the rest of the night.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like, oh, okay. Well, he didn't ask me to go with him. So like, is he going to break up with me? And then lo and behold, you come up to take pictures for my family's family reunion.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. My extended family, which is huge. And you had met them before, but you came up to be the photographer, which is comical. And I had burned you a CD. And I was like all about those mixtapes back then in 2010. I was like, I'm going to make you this mix of CDs, or a CD mix that's like all my feelings in music.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to Panda Express in Park City, Utah. Just me and you were like, I don't see how this is going to work out. I'm going to Arizona. I really do care about you, but I just like, you now knowing, because we've talked about it, wanted to have like the college experience, which I don't blame you for. I really genuinely don't.
Yeah.
And I was like heartbroken.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, we can make it work. Like, I'll come and see you. We can still talk. We've done the long distance thing before. Like, I fought tooth and nail. I was like, don't give up on this. Please don't give up on this. And you were just kind of like, well, let me go and see.
I literally was like, I'm going to live in a different state. So for 12 months. So I don't think that this is going to work. That's just literally where my head was at.
And knowing you now, like, you are just very logical. You're very much like, hey, this is, and I'm like, no, we can make it work. Like, it's going to work out. Like, I love you and I will do. And deep down, I'm like, tell me to come with you and I'll come with you. Like, please, please, please. And, cause I would have packed up every little piece of my whole entire life and I would have moved and followed you.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that says much about me, but I would have. Like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. I don't know, but that's where I was at in my life. I was like, tell me to go and I will be there and I will support you. How, like, I want to do that with you.
Yeah.
And I didn't get that, which is fine. And so you went to, we talked up until the day that you left for college. And then we continued to talk because we were friends at that point in time.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, hey, this is really hard for me. Like, it's hard for me to stay friends with you when I have all these feelings for you. And like knowing that you may go date and you may have relationships with other people. And so like, I need to back away. Mm-hmm. I need to not talk to you. I need to separate myself from you because I also can't have my experience here still being friends with you. Like, I care too much about you. And I am fully in love with you. And so I can't do this in between thing. And so I went silent. I was just like, thanks,
and then
thanks.
Then I went down there and I think it was probably a week, right?
I really think it was a week.
Yeah. That we hadn't talked or whatever. And I was like, and it's interesting thinking about it now, but there was a big gap to be filled in my life, even as an 18, 19-year-old, without you. And not that I wasn't like trying to pursue other girls or like trying to go party or anything like that. It was just like, I genuinely didn't want to. Like I that wasn't me.
Yeah.
And like, I missed my girlfriend. And so I think that like love kind of portrayed itself a little bit different inside of me, where you gave me something that I didn't know I needed. And so we ended up getting back together long distance. Yeah. While I was in Arizona, and then you came and visited me a couple times, which is super, super cool. I did.
Oh wait, I have the coolest realization of your love thing.
Yeah.
That was a bad way to put it. Your definition of love and how you showed me exactly what I showed you, kind of. Mm-hmm. So I came and saw you a few times. I would like buy a plane ticket out there and I would come stay with you. Yeah. And I had zero money. Like, I would like use all my paycheck to come and buy a plane ticket to come and see you. Will. I remember the first time I came, and saw you, I was still living at home and I went downstairs to tell my parents and I was like, hey, I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to see Matt on this date. And my dad was like, no, you're not. And I said, if anything describes me, this is it. And I said, I'm not really asking for your permission. I'm just letting you know. And he said, that's great, but you can find a ride to the airport and home from the airport. Yeah. And I said, okay. And I did. My cousin took me. Right. And I had a freaking amazing time. And every time I would come see you, I would only supposed to stay for like a couple days and I would always extend. Like, I would like cancel my flight and like bump and like buy a new flight, even if it was like $100 or $200 more, because I didn't want to leave. I wanted to live there with you. I wanted to be with you. But one of the most interesting things that happened was while you were in Arizona, that relationship I had before, he was coming home. It wasn't really like a thing.
He wanted to marry you.
He did. It wasn't really anything though that I thought was even going to come up. Yeah. Like, he was kind of out of the picture, all this stuff. And I knew I was going to run into him and he was coming home And I was going to see him. And I was like, I have to see Matt before I see this other guy.
Yeah.
And I was freaking out. My parents were gone with my sister and my 3 other siblings. And they were in St. George for a soccer tournament for my little sister. And me and my younger brother were the only ones home. And I was like, I have to see Matt. It was probably like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, the day before this boy was supposed to come home. And the day before I knew he was going to bombard me to come and see me. And I was like, I have to see Matt because I don't know what to do. Like, I don't want to make the wrong decision here. And like, what if this other guy comes and all these other feelings come up? And like, I was really nervous. Like, I didn't think anything was going to happen with it, but I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't know what to do. I need to talk to Matt.
Mm-hmm.
And so I packed my little brother up in my mom's car, my mom's Hyundai. And one of my good friends came with me and we drove, I think, how many hours is it to Arizona?
Like 10.5 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. To Arizona in the middle of the night. Mm-hmm. And there was at one point I genuinely thought I was going to die because it was such a bad snowstorm. And I surprised you. And your roommate knew I was coming.
Yeah.
But I surprised you and I just showed up. And I was just like, hey, I got to talk to you. Then I stayed with you. And later that night, we like went down to your apartment hot tub and we were like sitting in the hot tub together. And I was just like, Matt, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm trying to be so honest with you. Like, the reason that I'm here is because this other guy's coming home. And like, when he left, things were really great. And then we broke up long distance. And so he now is going to want to try to fix this relationship and see. And like, I'm really happy with you. But that was me because if you know, I wanted to just get married.
Yeah.
Like that culturally, like that's just what I was taught is like, get married, get married. So it was like, it was kind of me being like, if you don't see this going anywhere, should I pursue this other relationship? Which is so stupid, but it's fine. I want to hug 19-year-old Lauren.
Yeah. Because 19-year-old Matt was not doing that.
Or 18-year-old Lauren. I guess I was 18 at the time. And you just looked at me and you were just like, listen, like, I love you.
Yeah.
But you have to do what's going to make you happy. And you have to, like, all I want is for you to be happy. And so if that means being happy with me, then that's what I want. But if you need to go and be with this other guy, like, that really sucks. And that's going to like, that's going to be not horrible, but that's going to like hurt me. But at the same time, like, I do not want you to do anything that doesn't make you happy. And I was like, what? Like, what did you just say? Like, I was expecting like fire and like, no, like, what the hell? Like, why would you even consider? Because those were the kind of relationships I was in before. Mm-hmm. And you were just kind of like, all I want is for you to be happy. And I felt it. Like, it was like, listen, I want you, but I also can't make decisions for you. And I can't tell you what to do. So spread your wings and fly, kind of a thing. And I was like, okay. And
See, I didn't even know, but that was my definition of love when I was little too.
Yeah. So interesting.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, oh, okay. I guess I will see how I feel. And I did just that. I went home and this boy came and showed up at my house. And I remember just being like, there's nothing there. There's absolutely nothing there.
Yeah.
And I tried so hard to like see, like I really genuinely gave it a shot. Like I was like, and I had told you that. I was like, I'm going to just see how things are. Like, not that I'm trying to, like, I feel like I owe him that just to have closure of like, hey, yeah, no, like I really am done with the relationship. But I think there was a little part of me that was also kind of like, am I really done? Like, maybe I see him and like, I forgive him and this is great. And I like, oh wait, no, you're really who I'm supposed to be with.
Yeah.
And we went kind of on, it wasn't even a date. I just really picked him up to go get ice cream. And he straight up asked me to marry him. And I was like, what? And like the conversation before that with him was like, hey, I'm in a relationship and I'm super happy. And like, I will always care for you. And I will always like want the very best for you, but not romantically. Like, I do not want to be in a romantic relationship with you.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I really want to be friends, but like, I don't ever have any ill will towards you. Like, I hope the very best for you in life. And he was like, he did what I thought you were going to do when I told you. And he was like, I'm going to prove to you that I'm the one that you're supposed to be with. And I was just, and I literally looked at him and I just said like, okay, sounds good. Like try.
Right.
And I like, next thing I knew, all my shit was on my front porch like 2 days later. And he was calling me a whore and all this stuff. So
Yeah.
obviously made the right decision. But then moving forward from there, you still freaking lived in Arizona.
Well, I did. And then this whole story just pegs me as like I kept leaving. But
It's okay.
yeah. And then I left again. I served an LDS mission. I was gone for 2 years. So we were 19 and dating when I was in college. And then I left for 2 years. And you dated while I was gone. But when we came, I don't know. You want to tell the story about that or?
Well, I feel like I'm just talking, so I feel
No,
bad.
you're good.
But yeah, no.
I just want to know. Yeah.
I mean, I truthfully, again, I wanted my mom and dad's story. I
Yeah.
really think I wanted my mom and dad's story so bad
Yeah.
because my mom waited for my dad and all this shit and whatever, right? So in my head, I was like, I'm gonna wait for Matt. Like if he wants me to wait for him and he's serious, I'll wait for him. And then you leave to go on like a trip with your parents before you left on your mission, and I'm home, and you literally say to me, we're like talking about it and I'm like, do you want me to wait? Like all this kind of stuff. And you're like, well, if you're here when I get home, then like, I guess we can see where things go. And I'm like, you guess where you can see where things go? We've been dating like almost 2.5 years at that point.
But I was leaving for 2 years.
But I didn't care. I was committed. I was in it. I was ready to marry you a whole 1.5 years before that. So I was like,
Yeah.
are you fucking kidding me right now? Like he's going to break my heart. He is. Like, I'm like, he's going to break my heart. Like he's going to. And all I could think of is like, I'm going to be a cat lady. Like this hopeless romantic. I'm going to be this cat lady because I keep driving these men away. And, so I dated. You left.
Yeah.
And I cried so much. And I remember being so upset because if you're not familiar with LDS missions, you can't communicate with one another other than 1 day a week. And other than that, you can, I mean, back then it's
One day
very
a week
different
via email.
Via
and
email.
then you get 4 phone calls over 2 years.
Yeah. And so
Which is insane.
but Wednesdays were my favorite day when you were gone.
It's because I would email you.
We would talk for hours over email. Hours. And I was just like, this is incredible. I love him. He's amazing. And in the meantime, I was dating everyone. Anyone that would ask me out, I was like, yes, I'll go with you. Yes. Yeah. Because I was so scared you were going to break my heart. I think at that point, I was like, I don't know if he really loves me. Because if he loved me, he would like fight for me. Because I thought love was when you like fought for somebody. When you were like, I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to prove to you that I'm who you should be with. I'm going to prove to you why I'm the best. I mean, it came with conditions. And it came with...
There we go. Now we're getting to something.
There you
go. Yeah.
It came with conditions. It came with, let me show you how amazing I am. Let me perform for you. Let me be this perfect person for you. And you should love me because of all of these things, right? And so dating was like really eye-opening for me because, I mean, I would tell you this all the time. I would go on these dates and like my expectation for these guys was like, if they can hit, like I have Matt at this certain bar, and if they can even come close or like semi come close, they might be worth my time. But if not, then like, meh, we'll just like, it was a fun night. I made a lot of good friends. Yeah. And I got free food out of it, bonus, and like fun activities. It was awesome. Right. And no one came close, like not even scratched the surface. Like I would come home and be like, and so I stopped going. Like truthfully, after a while, I was like, and I'm done dating because it was just nobody. No. And I was literally like, if I don't marry Matt, I guess I will literally just be by myself. Like, and I'm okay with that. Like I kind of come to grips with like, I need to like put all of this relationship stuff to the side, and I just need to like kind of put it in God's hands at this point in time. Yeah. And so I did though. I mean, I don't know if we want to talk about that. I did while you were gone do a pretty hard ultimatum because again, my definition of love was you have to prove to me that you love me. You have to prove, I have to prove that I love you. I have to do all these things. I have to show up for you specific ways. I have to serve you. I have to do all of this. And so while you were gone,
You told me, you said, hey, if you're really serious about this, I need you to tell your parents.
Well, yeah, because your mom and dad, I love them now, but they were haters of me for a very long time.
Yeah, they're just protective.
They were so protective. And I see that now. But as a teenager, as a 19-year-old, my heart was broken because I was like, everybody's mom and dad loves me. And I am the girl that every parent is like, I wish you would marry Lauren. She's incredible. Yeah. And I'm like, I am.
I do want to give my side of the story just a teeny bit.
Yes, please do. I would love that.
No, I mean, just in a nutshell, because like throughout this whole time, even me going to college, me being on a mission, like I genuinely did have this affection for you. Like you filled this part of my life that I didn't know needed to be filled. But I was young. And so my mentality wasn't yours.
Oh, totally.
My mentality wasn't, we get married at 18 or 19 or even commit to each other that early, because people are still dating then, right? But it was interesting that every time that I left, the only thing that I wanted was you, right? And every time that I like would try and push you away, the only thing that would happen for me was that I would get closer to you.
Yeah.
Which was so interesting. So it was just like magnetic poles. And I truly believe in soulmates. And I truly believe that in predestined relationships, that we were like meant to be together. Mm-hmm. Even though we're in the same state, like all of these things, right? Same age, but like I genuinely believe that our relationship was so magnetic that we had to be together. And I'm understanding that now, because all of the story before it was just like, hey, like, I don't really know. I'm going to make decisions based on other people's opinions or their thoughts or what I should be doing. I don't really want to make the decision for myself. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, while on my mission, you actually had told me that you were dating people and that you had kissed other people. And I literally, like, there was just like, I felt like got stabbed. Right. You had wrote me, cause I'm in a freaking third world country. You wrote me this letter, or we were on the phone, and you were like, yeah, I've kissed 3 people. And we've now come to find out that it was like 10 or 12.
More. Oh, yeah.
Probably more. The list goes on.
We don't know. I could count, but we just don't care at this point. It was a lot of people. I kissed a lot of people. I like kissing people.
But yeah, I was like, oh my goodness. Like, I had no idea, honestly, the effect that you had on me and like the love that I had for you until I almost saw it leaving.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. It's super eye-opening. Yeah, fast forward, we're 21 and I come home from my mission.
Oh yeah. I was like, wait, where are you going?
No. Yeah.
Oh God.
Come home from my mission, and we get married 2 weeks from when I got home.
No, not 2 weeks.
Sorry. We got engaged 2 weeks from when I got home.
Again, because I always say to you, like in every fight that we've had up until recently, really, I was like, I feel like I pressured you into marrying me. I would say that to you all the time, because I was like, why has he not proposed? Why, where are we? Like, cause again,
but this conversation's honestly nice, because it's just your perspective of love was perform for me. Show me how much you want me. Like, come get me, all of these things. And that's just not mine.
That was never you.
So it's a really cool understanding for you listening that like your spouse is not you, and like their definition of love will be 1000% different than yours.
Yeah.
Because I loved you. My timeline was just different.
I know. And I wonder though, like, and I've said that to you before, where it's like, I wondered, had I not convinced my little sister to text you of like, when the heck are you going to propose to her?
I don't know
when that would have happened. And I don't know, because it didn't happen. And then like how our story panned out is the perfect, way. But it's kind of like, I wonder how that would have played out. Do you know what I mean? Because I know that when we did get engaged, we bumped the date up.
Right.
And that was you that wanted to do that. I was totally good with,
I wanted to have sex.
You wanted to have sex.
So,
and at that point in time, we were saving ourselves for marriage. And so we were going to get married in October, and we bumped it to September. So we got married 2 months to the day
that I got back.
That you got back from your mission.
So very, very quickly. And that's why I think that me fast forwarding to the end, saying that like, I don't know that I actually loved you until a couple years ago. Becomes very prevalent to me, because like I genuinely, not that you forced me into anything, but I had to set myself free to actually be able to love you. And I had to accept myself for all of my wrongdoings, for all the things that I did right as well. And so like I could tell my perspective of that whole story. And I love that you went back to the very beginning. But it's really cool just to see your perception of love at that time when we were teenagers.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess my question is now, what's your definition of love?
My definition of love now is very similar to yours. But it is just unconditional. I don't want to say love because it's love. It's just non-judgment. It's like accepting somebody fully for who they are without any conditions, without expecting anything, and just loving them for exactly who they are. Like not wanting to change them, not having any expectations for them, not trying to have them be somebody that they are not. Like love for me is 100% just acceptance and non-judgment.
And I love that answer has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with the person that you're loving.
Yeah.
Right? It's just, I see you. That's love.
Yeah. And I think that that's like a hard point to get to in a relationship sometimes because we have so many expectations that we put on ourselves that a lot of times we project those onto our significant other of why are they not doing this and why, because I know that we have been in that situation in our relationship.
Oh yeah.
Where I would be like, I don't know why Matt is not more like this, or I don't know why he's not doing this. But deep down, if I really looked, it was like I was stirring with, why am I not doing this? Why am I not fulfilling this? Why? And I needed you to show up, air quotes, in a specific way so that I felt loved because I didn't know how to love myself because I didn't know how to show up for me.
Yeah. It's also changing the story that we have about love in our heads.
Yes.
Just like what you came up with, where it's just like, you have to perform for me. Come get me. Show me you love me. Do something.
Yeah.
Right?
Like sweep me off my feet.
Yeah.
And be romantic and do all these things. And I think when you realize that sometimes how we cast our partners in our movies that are in our world
that we're writing,
right? That we're writing isn't always who they are. And sometimes I would challenge you to really look at your spouse, and there's a really good chance that the character that they already are is way better than the one that you're casting them out to be. And if you can just take the goggles off or take your mask off and actually see them for who they are, that love grows so much because there's no expectation for them to be anything other than who they are. Because
the fact is that whoever they are is going to help you also become whole.
Yeah. And that's been a huge thing. I think for us, especially, like you say all the time that when you came to me with everything, I was very kind and like, I just had I showed you like what you would consider true love. Right. Yeah. And I think that that's so nice of you because yes, my initial response, and I always feel bad because we get messages from people that from men who say like, oh, I wish I knew if I told my wife about my like addiction, that she would respond the same way Lauren did. And I'm like, oh, please don't paint me out to be this savior because I for sure wasn't. Yeah. In that moment, the feeling was so amazing. And I genuinely didn't know how to respond other than exactly how I did, which was just love. Because I saw how bad you were hurting and I saw all of that. But like there was a lot of anger in weeks later and months later. And I had to work through a lot as a spouse with that. But it is the best gift that you have ever given me.
Right. And I mean, we'll tell that story here in a couple episodes. But it's really cool to see that even when there was anger, love came first.
Yes. Right? And it was so like, I truly say to you all the time, like I would never, ever, ever take back what we've been through. And I'm so grateful that you told me all of your truth and you stopped hiding because it gave me permission to do the exact same thing. And even though I thought like, no, I'm not hiding anything. No, I don't have any issues. I don't have any trauma. I don't have any of this stuff. My life is amazing.
Yeah.
By you being honest with me and telling me the truth, even though you were like, this might hurt her because of my actions, it gave me permission to look so deeply inside of myself that I would have never, ever, ever had the amount of love I have for myself without you doing it. And that's the best gift that you could have ever given me, or that you do give me on a daily basis, which allows me to be, which is truly what I just described as my definition of love, is letting me be me 100%. And I even said to you the other day, I think one of the things that has attracted me the very most to you is that you almost shine a little flashlight on parts of me that I've lost and that I've forgotten about. And that have been pushed down, or I've been told that aren't great, or I've been, like ridiculed for, or whatever that looks like. There's not been one time where you've told me any of those things. If anything, you were like, this is what makes you amazing. You need to make this stronger. So thank you.
You're welcome. So I guess our invitation for you would be, ask your spouse what their definition of love is this Valentine's Day. And we're grateful that you held on for our story, because we've never told it that way, which is really cool that we were able to today.
Yeah. We hope that you kind of see.
But then also come up with your own definition of what love is.
Yeah. And even re-go through your story. I think there's a lot of truth that can be found in sharing your story, even with those that are closest to you. And if you don't have someone that's close to you, write it out.
Yeah.
Because your story is what makes you you. And your story is what brings forth truth and light and, all of the amazing things about you. So go do it.